everyone. Happy Saturday and welcome to Discover
I share
Homeschooling.
with you a definition we use when we talk about homeschooling, right? When we talk about what homeschooling
Okay.
is, here's how we phrase it. And it's important because when you Google
Okay. So, once again, good morning. I am your facilitator for today. I'm Selgo. Okay. I'm with the Touch program and I am also a homeschooling mom. And I've been doing that for 12 years now. That's why I'm so happy to welcome all of you because as you discover homeschooling and how it can really bless your family. Okay, so as we welcome you and as I introduce myself, we would also like to know more about you. So if you can just join me in this bit of an icebreaker that we can do together. If you can get your um, any gadget that you have, a smartphone or anything that you can use to log in to slido.com. Okay, I will give you time to do that. Go to slido.com and enter the code that is on the screen. The code is December HS103. So that's the date today. All right. So I'll give you time to do that as we try to get to know each other. Okay, in this virtual space. Okay, there will be I believe, four questions for you to answer. We can start with the first one. I hope you're all logged in. And then please keep that because we will be using that same Slido and event code until the end of the session. All right. So maybe we can proceed with our activity for this morning. Okay. So you're now in slido.com with the code discover HS103. And here goes our first question. Okay, our first question is, where are you from? So please let us know where you're from. So more or less, we can see where the families are coming from. So we will know how to later on support you when ECQ is lifted. We normally group the families by area. That's why we're trying to find out more about where you are right now. So we have somebody from Quezon City, New Zealand. Wow, New Zealand. So we're also, yes, we can serve you even if you're outside the Philippines. And even in the Philippines, because we have several hubs that can serve you. Later on, you'll know about the different hubs. And we also have from Singapore. Welcome. Okay. And if you happen to be in the Middle East, we also have a Discover Homeschooling session every 1 p.m. Philippine time. So you just ask our admissions officers on how you can join that. Okay. Maybe we can move to the second question, and we have also from Mandaluyong. Thank you for that. We move to our second question, which is, what is the grade level of your child? And you may choose multiple options if you have several children. Your answer to this will be helpful for those who will be handling the breakout later, the breakout sessions. So if you can tell us the grade level of your children. Okay, so we have more or less preschool to kinder families here and elementary. All right. And then we can also move to the next question, which is, how did you hear about HG? Okay. Is it through Google, social media, referral, or you received an email, or maybe phone call or chat? Okay. All right. So I'm maybe you've been searching for a provider and you were led to HG. That's good because that's the first one. And also referral, right? Yeah. That's good to know. And I think I can link that later for question number 3. Okay. So if we move to question number 4. So as we move to that, question number 4, why are you considering homeschooling? And you can choose at least 2 reasons. Okay. We want to make this session relevant to you, so it's good to know why you're considering homeschooling. Earlier, the topmost answer to how you've heard of HG is referral. I wonder if your answer here will support that. Okay, may we ask that you share your answer for question number 4. This is a good time to really think, why am I considering homeschooling? Or why is our family considering homeschooling? Okay, yes, I guess it right because of the referral. That means you've been hearing positive feedback about homeschooling. All right. And then holistic education. Okay, it's now safety because of COVID. Okay, so these are the reasons why. All right, so thank you for sharing your answers. Wow, okay, travels a lot, flexible learning. Okay, thank you for all of your answers. Okay, so let's start discovering homeschooling today. Okay, how are we gonna do that? Let me go through this slide. Okay, for this morning, this is what we're gonna do. Just a lot 2 hours, no? The rest of the morning for this session. For 30 minutes, we will share with you the what and the why of homeschooling. And then the next 30 minutes would be introducing how HG can help you. And the last part is a Q&A with the advisors. That means we will have to move to the breakout sessions. Okay. In the event that we get cut, okay, there's an instruction there in the comment space. What we will do in the event that we get cut, no, due to some internet interruptions. So let's just prepare for plan B. Okay, so there you go. As we move on, let me introduce to you our chairman, Mr. Edric Mendoza. He's a homeschooling dad of 6, author and homeschool advocate. And also for this morning, the first part, we will discover homeschooling by watching this video. So let's watch this together.
I want to share with you a definition we use when we talk about homeschooling, right? When we talk about what homeschooling is, here's how we phrase it. And it's important because when you Google homeschooling, there's so many different perspectives. So we wanted to share with you what ours is in Homeschool Global. Let's look at the definition. What is homeschooling? We have a simple one, but the words are loaded enough so that even if it is simple, it is what we believe is comprehensive enough. So here are the words. The first is parent-led. What does parent-led mean? Joy was saying she has a front row seat. It's being able to drive the learning and now decide how you want the learning to go, where you want to learn, how you want to learn, what you want to learn. That's all up to you. So that's what this means. For example, as a financial planner, one of the things that I look at also is, let's say you send your child to a good school that is, let's just use a round number, let's say 100,000 a year. And you're now saying, well, I don't think my child will use any of the basketball court facilities because they're not really into basketball. Can you subtract that from the fee? Can't do that. Or when you say things like, I had a parent-teacher conference and you have amazing teachers, but I noticed that for science, the teacher's not able to really engage my child in the way they like to learn, but I could do it. So maybe we could swap and I will get a discount for the science classes. Is that possible? Obviously, we can't do that either, right? But in the homeschooling environment, you can now do that based on what you feel is the best way for your child to learn. So that's what parent-led means. You have control of the learning environment. Honey, can you show what that might look like in the engagement or in the interaction at home? And talk about the downsides. What are the realities behind being parent-led as well?
Well, first of all, I think that you have it depends, of course, on what track you choose, but you have a free hand on selecting the books and materials that you feel like your child would be most interested in learning. There's a set of minimum learning competencies, right, that the Department of Education requires of us, or if you are accredited with the U.S. Accreditation, then there's certain requirements also. But now you can choose, okay, this I'll give you an example. When my second son was studying astronomy, he was getting bored as I read the material to him, and he said things like, "Can you show me more pictures?" And so we went online. We looked at the Hubble Space Telescope photos of the universe, and that's when he started to really get excited. And so I realized as a parent, if I was sending my child to school and he was bored in the classroom, but even the most well-meaning can't stop the entire lesson to cater to my child's, interest or bent or need, because she has to think about everybody else. In my case, I could stop the lesson and say, yeah, let's do that. Let's look at more images. And then he became really engaged in the lesson. Parent-led also means that you will now decide also what your schedule is going to be like, what time you will start at the beginning of the day, what time you will end, what your school year will be like. Usually we finish our school year in about 8 to 10 months, and we take breaks anytime we feel like, okay, let's go on a vacation. It's of course it's hard to say that right now. I know people are desiring to travel but can't. But when there is no pandemic, we can take a break anytime in our homeschooling year. So that in that sense, it's also parent-led because we control the schedule. We do have to finish in a certain number of months because we're with an accredited program, but we can decide when the breaks will happen.
So I think in one word, when we say parent-led, it is the word control, right? And it also is the word, and it is the word personalized, right? So control and personalize is what parent-led has to is what the word actually focuses on. The downside of the challenge would be, can you be resourceful, right? As a parent who's driving it, especially now with the quarantine, there's a lot more constraints because you're just at home. That's a reality you'll have to ask. Can I find ways to enrich the learning, to help them still achieve the goals, even if we're just at home? That's where resourcefulness comes in. Like what Joy was saying, finding ways to go online and see that the learning will come alive through pictures. You also have to be organized. You don't have to be OC, right? But that's a reality and a challenge, and you need to ask yourself, kaya ko ba? Can I do this? Because as she mentioned, you need to have some semblance of a structure so that the kids can now follow and have a cadence as they learn. So those would be important things. Part of maybe the question that we get a lot in terms of being parent-led, honey, is if I'm the parent and I'm going to drive it, let's look at parent situations. Some families will have maybe one person working, like in my case, and then a wife that stays at home or can work from home, right? But there will be families who will have both parents working full-time. And we get a lot of questions about how do I now drive the learning, or how can I help my child if we're both working? Or let's just say you're working from home. How do you now manage that so that you can still teach the child? Any thoughts?
It really depends on the ages of your children and where they're at in terms of their learning capacity. Because when they're younger, they'll need about an hour and a half to 2 hours if they're grade 1 below. And then as they move up the levels, you keep adding the hours, right? So maybe second grade to about fourth grade, they'll need 2 to 3 hours, sometimes more. And then as you move up even 3 to 4, and then high school, they need about 5 to 6 hours. And so you have to ask yourself, with my children who are younger, because they're the ones that really need the hand-holding, more attention, because they don't have mastery yet in terms of reading and comprehension and the ability to articulate themselves in written or oral form, and also with their math. They're still building those skills. So a lot of times it's the younger ages that will really need you to be present. So if you can, let's say you have a job that's 8 hours a day, and you have to factor in there also travel time when the quarantine is lifted. So can you set aside, an hour and a half to 3 hours of your time every day to really sit down with your child to help them learn? If your answer is yes, you can do it, then do it. But if there comes a point where you realize it's hard for me to do a great job with my work and also with the homeschooling, then you have to now decide, how can I modify maybe my work situation? Maybe I have to switch careers. Maybe I have to do a work from home situation, or have to do a home-based business so that I can still prioritize the homeschooling. As the children get older, like in Elijah's case, you can ask him, he can answer that right now. How much time do I spend teaching you something?
Go.
Actually, it's up to me how much time I ask her to help me with something. If I think she can help me, like, for example, with literature, because that's the degree she took, and she's a really good writer. But in terms of math and those other subjects, my mom, I pretty much teach myself.
So there you have it. As your children get older, because they have those basic reading skills in place, they can comprehend, they can now become independent learners. And that's what you want to move them towards. So you don't have to spoon feed them as they learn, because ideally you want them to drive their own learning. So if you're working, if you're both working and you have an older child, what you can do now is every time you get home, you just check to make sure they accomplished the work they were supposed to get done for the day. But you don't actually have to sit down with them for 5-6 hours. So does that make sense? I hope that clarifies things. It depends on the age, depends on the number of hours you really need to sit down with them, because they need more attention, more hand-holding. And it depends on also if you can do it, because you can juggle all of that.
Let's move to the second word in the definition. That's parent-led. So again, in one word, parent-led is about control. You now have control. So that's a good thing. But that also is a responsibility. So you want to ask yourself, can I be resourceful? Can I be organized, right? If I have a working situation, whether it's at home or outside, can I find ways to work around that so that the child keeps learning? So resourcefulness and organization are important in this area of control. And also personalization, right? So now home-based has everything to do with the word that Joy said, which is flexibility. The reason why we put that there is instead of sending them to a facility for set hours every day, you can now have the flexibility to decide, right? Because it's from home. Flexibility as silly and as simple as, do you want them to wear school uniforms or not? This is what flexibility means. You can have them wear that. They can be in their pajamas.
I don't recommend letting them stay in their pajamas.
We're just giving examples, right? I mean, you will know your children best. But that's what flexibility looks like, from simple things like that to now where in the house you will have the learning, etc. Home-based has the whole idea of reminding all of us that when you now shift to homeschooling, the world is our classroom. It is now a lifestyle of learning, as opposed to, I need to go to school, I need to learn these things. It's fluid. So let's look at what that looks like. Can you show us a typical day for you guys and how you incorporate this flexibility? Elijah, tell us a typical schedule for you.
I would wake up at 6:30 to work out, and then do some chores after that short workout, and then eat breakfast. After that, we would have our actual schooling, which begins 9 a.m. And as my mom said, it depends on the learner how long that's going to extend. So for the younger ones, maybe 2 to 3 hours. As we get older, it really gets longer because of the volume and the type of the stuff we're doing. I'm writing reports, doing research, essays, summaries. So that takes, for me, around 6 hours of schooling. So I'd end up around 3 in the afternoon or 4.
Now, I think it's important. Someone asked me before, talk to me about the actual teaching time. So as a mom, let's say it's a 2-hour block for the kids. You said depending on the learner, right? You're saying that the 2 to 3 hours of covering the academics, that's not you sitting with them and teaching them everything for 2 hours, just to make it clear.
No, I think you're going to explain this in a bit, right?
Yeah.
But I am present in the classroom, because we have a room that we converted into a classroom. Now, not everybody will have that. Some people only have 1-bedroom condos because it is home based. So in other words, every part of your house can be converted into a learning space. Sometimes we're in the kitchen, we're baking, we're cooking, we're doing a science experiment. So while it's home based, it doesn't mean it's just one part of the house. And it also doesn't mean it's only the house. There are times when we travel as a family, and that becomes part of their learning experience. But in terms of the time that I actually give to teaching them, I just set aside 9 a.m. to 12:30 every morning. That's my schedule with them. And in the afternoon, for the older kids, they teach themselves or they learn on their own. And if they really need me, I'm still usually at home, especially now because of the quarantine. So if they really need me, I'm accessible. But I just dedicate 9 a.m. to 12:30.
How do you know what to teach?
How do I know what to teach? Well, first of all, the Depth Ed has a certain set of learning competencies. Well, I just divide it into 4 parts because you have usually 180 days, about 8 to 10 months, and then you just divide it. For me, I divide it into 4 parts because there's 4 quarters. And so I just tell my kids, okay, this is what you have to cover for this quarter. I just mark it off. And most of the materials are designed based on 36 weeks, 180 days. So it's easy to see where the divisions are.
And then you kind of, if you know what they are in those 4 quarters on a daily basis, how do you now know what to teach every day?
Well, what I do is I do the same thing. I divide the certain, let's say if it's 200 pages for that quarter, then I divide it by 2 months, right? And so, or not 2 months. He gets 20 days each month.
Right.
And then based on that, a certain number of pages. And then, you know, the great thing about homeschool materials usually is that they really are built and designed with a parent in mind. They're not written for professional teachers. So they have the built-in,
it's easy to understand for parents.
They
Wonderful.
teach you how to present the material. There's built-in answer keys, tests. So in his case, he's doing advanced physics. I don't teach him the physics, but I can grade his papers. I can discuss the answers with him because I have the answer keys. Because I have the answer keys, yeah, the guides.
How can they help convince their kids, especially they're in high school? The second is maybe some other tips to prepare them as they transition into homeschooling. And the third would be, well, if they want to transition back, what are our thoughts on them transitioning back to school?
Sometimes for high schoolers, it's really tough to convince them because they're used to conventional school, and the biggest barrier I've seen for my friends, especially who have moved, transitioned, is they have to leave all the friends that they built these connections with over time. But then one thing that helped along those lines is to remind them that if they're really your friends, they'll stay your friends.
Good point.
They'll not be gone forever if you leave them. It will be honestly harder to connect with them, and that's something they have to get over with. But eventually, most of the friends that I've known who've embarked on this homeschooling journey have ended up loving it. And another thing that I think helps convince them, if you will, is to help them understand the why behind why they're homeschooling. You have the reasons set, and you know clearly why you're gonna homeschool, and the reasons are sound. As a normal high schooler, I'd be like, okay, mom, okay, dad, I understand it. And then, yeah. So mom wants to say something.
Yeah, so I wanna just make sure that you remember that, and I will close with that. We talked about how our portion is the what and the why. It's so important that you are clear as parents on the why, so you can explain it to your high school child or any age they're in. Here's why we're considering it, so that they see that, and if the vision sinks, then it'll be a lot smoother, as Elijah was saying. So, Joy, you wanted to jump in?
By the time kids are in high school, you want them to be personally invested in their education. So you want them to help make the decision with you. In Elijah's case, we actually allowed him to decide whether he wanted to continue 11th and 12th grade or go into a conventional school to prepare for the college. We asked a school called Faith Academy, we asked if Elijah could sit in to see what the classroom setup was like, because he's never gone to formal school like that. He came back, and I remember he said, you know what, it was nice. It was nice having teachers who really were experts in their subject area. That's okay, I'm secure.
Joy's secure. No.
But he said, you know, the interesting thing is, I was sitting in a calculus class, and the lesson was probably 45 minutes long, but in the first 15 minutes, I already got it, and I already knew what to do, but I had to stay the whole time to finish the class. And see, this is what happens when kids take ownership for their education and they understand how to learn on their own. They can learn things much faster. And so he realized if he was going to go to school, he's going to spend a lot of time sitting in classrooms where he could cover the material much faster on his own. And so this is one thing you can tell your kids. You know what? I believe you're super talented and you have many bents. And imagine if you had more time to develop those interests. Maybe you have a child who's very musical. Maybe you have a child who is a golfer, or a child who is very good at basketball or swimming or has a specialized skill. And usually at this age, you'll see them, they have things that they're very interested in doing, very interested in pursuing. And so if they just have more time, you can tell them if you have more time to do those things, I really believe you can excel in this area. So homeschooling will give you that time. We're gonna do the academics because we have requirements, but if you get your academics done earlier in the day, imagine how much time you will have to pursue your interest.
And let me just jump in. So very quickly, then we'll move to the other questions. You also want them to experience and meet other homeschool high schoolers, right?
Yes.
There are groups where they can now engage them so that they can get a feel of, you know what, are they weird? Will I become weird? You know, all of these mindsets that they might have that they're afraid of, which is why they're saying, I don't know if I want to do this. Let them see it for themselves. And if they find that they are weird, then don't homeschool, right?
Let's be realistic.
So there are groups. In HG, what is the name of the high school group?
So in HG, we have this group called High Unite, and I've also been able to help out in some ways. and we put together events and where high schoolers gather, and sometimes we invite people from other schools who are
Right.
interested so they can see
Where
and
can they connect
understand
with you guys?
the
Do you have a
cultures.
Facebook page?
We have a Facebook page. You can check it out. It's really cool.
And then as they engage there, you can chat with them there, right? So that's one. And then you can Google their other high school homeschoolers just so that they can experience and meet. And you might actually know some people already. So now, let's be honest. If they see high schoolers and your kids are concerned about them, then there's nothing we can do about that. You need to work with them and say, okay, well, maybe homeschooling isn't for you guys, right? Let's just be honest. So the second and third question had to do with transitions in and out.
Yes.
We'll talk about transitioning in very quickly and transitioning out. I think when we talk about how do you best transition in, I'm actually going to show a slide after this that will help clarify that. Okay, so please park that. When you transition out, the only consideration you really want to have, and I was talking to my friend about this yesterday who was thinking about homeschooling, there's just two practical considerations you want to think about. Number one, when you transition out, if you're planning to just use this as like a bridge, I'll try this out, and when the school system stabilizes, I'll go back in. Number one, the private school you want to go back in, what will the system be then? For example, some people have been concerned about slots. I might not get the slot in my school that I want after I leave. Then that's a reality you'll have to answer if you're planning to go in for a year, homeschool, and then go out. That's the first practical consideration. The other consideration is what will the school systems even look like after you are done with your 1 year of homeschooling, right? We honestly can't say what their enrollment protocols will look like, right? And whether it will be more stringent or more lax or other things. But what we do know for certain is HG has government accreditation, which means that as far as records are concerned, it's like you have gone from school A to school B, and then you're going back to school A. That's the bottom line for us. So you don't have to worry about the records and that sort of practical consideration. You really want to ask, will there be a consideration in the slots? And second, what will the climate look like a year later in these private schools? And am I ready to actually assimilate back into that when the time comes? So if you're thinking, maybe I don't want to take that risk and stay in the school that you're in, right? Otherwise, if your concern is practical, will I get the records to be able to go back into a school system? That is not a problem at all. And we've seen a number of parents doing that. So we're now going to look at the third part of it. And I said I would talk about how you can help in the transition, right? Going into homeschooling. So we'll talk about this here. We've looked at parent-led, home-based education. So this last word, education, the way we want to now talk about this is I want to make sure that as we talk about homeschooling here, we're able to separate the formal schooling part and then the life schooling part, if you will. What does that mean? The formal schooling part is all of the academics. That's where you will get your records, you will comply with whichever government is giving you the accreditation, your choice of materials. That's what many people think about when we think about school, the formal schooling component, right? But there's actually the life schooling. I mean, things that our children will need to be able to survive. And the big words around that would be character and values. And that we teach as children, and we should keep teaching them whether they're in a homeschool,
we teach as parents,
right? We should teach as parents, whether they're in a homeschool environment or they're in a school environment, yeah? So when we now look at the word education, this will focus on the education as far as formal schooling. Will our children be able to cover all of these academics well and learn properly? And we need to remember that that is an important part of the learning process. And that's why it's in our definition. So here's what it looks like now. Can we show the diagram? When we look at the word education, it's so important that we remember that the learning core, or how children learn, is involving primarily three components. You have the students, the teacher, and the content. And this simple diagram says that the stronger the interaction across those three, the greater is the learning. The more that the teacher is able to engage the student with the math material or the science material, the more that the student engages that material, the more they're able to see the learning come alive, right? But the world has changed. Back when Joy and I, and maybe the parents here were in school, when there was no internet yet, right? We were dependent on the teacher as students. The teacher had a lot of pressure to make sure that they had the content that they needed to now give the child. And they need to master this so that the child could learn it. Because where else would they go? So the student would now receive this from the teacher, and the teacher had to be able to explain and communicate all of that to the student. But today, because of the internet, we all know that even if you put all the teachers in the world together today, the information online will still be more than what they could give. And because of that, we're seeing a shift. Can you please show what that looks like now? The shift is that you will have the teacher now being called a facilitator, and a student now be called a learner. What does that mean? In very simple terms, the teacher now does not have to know everything because the content has changed. The content can do a better job in many ways of providing information and relevant and more personalized instruction to the child. So a good teacher now is actually a good facilitator. They find the right content and ways to engage the student and the content. And why is the student now a learner? The student is now a learner because they can pursue actively what they want to learn and go deeper and broader in the learning because the content is available. So that puts a lot less pressure on parents who are thinking about homeschooling. Why? I don't have to know everything. I don't have to have all the certifications. What I do need to be is resourceful and organized so that I can find ways to connect my learner to the right content. So let's see what that looks like in our home. And this also speaks to the transition. If you want to transition well into homeschooling, this is one of the first things you need to remember. You don't need to know everything, but you need to be resourceful and organized so that you can be a good facilitator. That is your goal. So let's see what that looks like. So for my son's math, for example, they talked a little bit about that, right? Let's look at how that looks like, facilitator
Yes.
and learning.
Edric mentioned two things. The first was that you said something, as a facilitator, you have to
Be
be
organized
resourceful and be
and
organized.
resourceful, yes.
And I think I want to add something to that. I love Edric. He's amazing. He teaches the character part, which is so essential to our homeschooling experience. But I found that as a parent who has to facilitate the learning of my children, I also have to be an engaging teacher. You have to engage the kids so that they'll be excited about the lesson. Now, with younger children, there's more hand-holding involved because you have to present the content in such a way that they will be excited about it. So when Titus was little, he was really into marbles. So as I taught him mathematics, I used marbles so that he would be interested in the lesson. As they get older, you have to work yourself out of the job, meaning I'm not going to be presenting calculus.
That's another quotable quote. You have to work yourself out of
I'm
the
not
job.
going to be presenting advanced calculus to Elijah using marbles. First of all, you can't do that. But he on his own, maybe you can, but he on his own has learned how to enjoy the learning experience. But what I had to do when he was grade 5 was I had to find a resource that would allow him to learn on his own because I knew that I had limitations and I had only a certain capacity and ceiling for teaching mathematics well. And so I just prayed for the right resource and God led me to Khan Academy. And since grade 5, he's learned using Khan Academy and now he's doing advanced calculus and he's enjoying it. I mean, he doesn't always love it, but Khan Academy provides the instruction, provides the engagement necessary for a child to learn, also provides the assessment. And so here is the example that Edric was talking about. Can you be resourceful as a parent? So this just goes to show that our children's capacity to learn is not going to be limited by our inabilities in terms of, what subjects we can teach excellently for as long as we're able to be resourceful. So resourcefulness is the key. And being present, because the reality is you can't just say, okay, you guys are on your own. I'll see you later. I'm going to be back, 12 midnight and you guys take care of yourselves. On the one hand, with older children, that's more possible. But you want to be present in the homeschooling experience because it's really amazing to also see your children learn and to see their eyes light up when they get something. And you have to be there to answer questions. And you have to be there in case, if, in my case, I have multiple kids. So if one child is getting distracted and the other child is trying to focus and the other child is distracting this one child, I have to be there to say, hey, you both need to be silent. Let's use a library voice while we're in the, the homeschool room. So I have to be there as a facilitator to also manage the learning experience and make sure that the room is conducive enough for them to learn and they have the tools available to them. So a facilitator will also make sure that her homeschool room or homeschool space is organized.
So let's wrap up our time. So in that diagram, what is important again is we remember we are to be facilitators, and if we do that, then the education or the learning becomes richer. We do not want to forget that in the homeschooling journey. We do not want to be overly enamored by all the bonding moments, which our kids said. We can spend a lot of time with each other, have fun, play, pursue interests, but there is a responsibility involved in the learning of our children, which we as parents, as we choose to homeschool, must embrace. And this is the responsibility, being a good facilitator so that our children can become good learners.
So I want to just encourage you, Ken Robinson, he's one of the foremost thinkers when it comes to the educational space. And this is what he said about being an excellent teacher. He said, education is a living process that can best be compared to agriculture. Gardeners know that they don't make plants grow. They don't attach the roots, glue the leaves, and paint the petals. Plants grow themselves. The job of the gardener is to create the best conditions for that to happen. Good gardeners create those conditions and poor ones don't. It's the same with teaching. Good teachers create the conditions for learning and poor ones don't. Good teachers also know that they are not always in control of these conditions. So I would encourage you guys, because when you homeschool, it's all about creating the conditions that allow our children to be inspired to learn, excited to learn, and have the tools and resources accessible to them so that they can learn whatever they want to. And you as a facilitator, that's our job, to be the best gardeners possible so that our children will really grow well as plants. Okay, so
wonderful.
That's just
so we will now segue because the USEC will be calling at 11:05. Okay. We now want to segue to the why, and I submit to you all the most important question you all need to ask is why. As we answered earlier, if you have high school students or even whatever the age, if they ask you why are we going to homeschool, you need to be clear on your why. We need to be clear on our why, because that why will drive all the other practical considerations, all the other possible hurdles even, right? And that's true for all of our parenting journey. For all of us parents, we have an end goal for our children. The why. Bakit ko ba ginagawa ito? Why will I say, do not look at that website. Do not download that app. Only spend 30 minutes here. Sit down. All of these things, when our kids ask why, there has to be an end goal or a vision that we have for our children. So for us, what we've learned is when you have answered that why, that will now dictate whether homeschooling fits in achieving that why or not. So maybe for us, what has been the why?
Yeah, for me, we thought about this a long time ago. We've been homeschooling now for 17 years. And from the beginning, as we began to have children, we decided, let's think through as parents, what is our end goal? To what end are we raising our children? Because it's more than just their education, right? We want to, how do we know that we did a good job as parents? And so we really thought through that and we prayed about it. And God really led us to the conviction that we want to raise our children to love Him, to know Him, to obey Him, to serve Him, to worship Him, and to do all things for His glory, to develop their talents and abilities to be change makers in this world and make a difference for Him. And so as we thought through that, then we asked ourselves, what environment makes sense? What methodology? What learning experience will allow them to really achieve that goal? And for us, homeschooling was what made the most sense, because when we're homeschooling our children, we don't have to deal with a lot of competing influences, right? Because we know what our children are learning, when they're learning it, who their friends are. There's a lot of things that we're highly aware of. And we get to share the same culture as a family, and our children embrace that because of the time we spend together. It gives us the privilege of influencing them. And so we've seen that homeschooling has been one of the best decisions we've made as parents, because we've been able to year on year ask ourselves, are our children growing more in love with the Lord? Are they able to develop their areas of giftedness and abilities and become better members of society. For us, that's the bigger picture. And if we can answer yes every year, that's how we know we should keep going.
And so our question is for all of you that are listening, what is your why? Whatever that is, the end goal, the question now is, will homeschooling help you achieve that?
All right. Okay. So, wow, that was really insightful, no? And just allow me to repeat some of the questions that were mentioned by the Mendozas. Other than what you answered earlier in the poll about the why you're considering homeschooling, let me just repeat this question. What is your why? And what's your end goal? And what's your vision for your child and for your family? So that would really help us discover homeschooling if homeschooling is indeed the alternative for your family. Okay, now that we've heard it from them and they answered the what and the whys, we will discover the question who. It says here who is HG. So who will journey with you as you homeschool? So let me talk to you about Homeschool Global. All right. What we can do is, okay. So this is now the question. How will HG do it as your partner in your homeschooling? I want you to keep this in mind that Homeschool Global, okay, Homeschool Global empowers you to pursue what matters through flexible and personalized education. So I want you to remember the underlined words, no? Empower, pursue, and what matters, and gives flexible and personalized education. So remember also how HG can help you. HG will guide you, will support you, and will provide you with options. I'll start first with a guide. Okay, HG will guide you by empowering you because we believe that the parent is the main person in the homeschooling of their children. You will be equipped and you will have partners in your journey. Okay, and then the support. Okay, HG will support you by embracing what matters to your family. And this, we know this will vary for every family, and even the kind of support that we will provide is customized. Later, you will see that in the programs. And HG will also provide by giving you options for flexible and personalized education to help your child develop the love for learning. All right. And not only that, how can HG further support you? The next slide will tell you how. Okay, let me talk to you about the experience. HG experience is for 20 years already. 20 years in the homeschooling space. And in the online learning platform, it has been there even before the quarantine period. So it's been tried and tested already. Okay, so HG also has partners and accrediting schools, no? For the partnership and accreditation, it's in place. Okay, HG can provide you with the records to document your children's homeschooling. And then the documents will be under the schools that you can see at the right side of the screen. That is Victory Christian International School for DepEd accreditation, and Wellspring Christian Family School if you want an international accreditation. Please note that HG is not the school, but HG is the one who will facilitate your homeschooling. All right? Okay. And then for the reach, within the Philippines and outside the Philippines, HG can reach any families. Okay. In fact, Philippines alone, we have 8. It says here in the map, you can see it. We have about 8 hubs all over the Philippines. We have in Ortigas, Roses, Quezon City, Alabang, Imus, Cavite, Baguio, Cebu, Bacolod, Jensan. So that means if you're near these areas, you know that you can enroll there and you can get the support there. Okay? And also it can be done online for now. Later on, when ECQ is lifted, the support is there, even how you will be facilitating your homeschooling. But then again, it depends on the program that you will choose. We are also present in Dubai, Qatar, and Abu Dhabi. So if you're outside the Philippines. All right. For those of you who want to know about the track record of HG, these are our graduates. Again, that's what we want to show you. This is the answer to your questions. Will my child be accepted in universities or for college? Okay, this is the answer to that. And you know what? There's more in the website for your reference. So just browse to the website and go through the different stories that you can see there. Okay, now as we move on, preparing now for your questions, and as you decide what program to look into, let me show you this one. This is what we call the HE formula. It's basically what you will experience when you are already with HG, okay? Because this formula shows that HG looks after your academic needs. That's the learn part, okay? And when we say academic needs, that's records, books, academic advising, yan, that we can do that. And then for the socialization needs, you can refer to Connect, okay? In Connect, we can plug you in communities, and you learn better when you're in a community, okay? So you're doing it at home, but you will also be plugged in with other homeschooling families. And there are events and activities that will really bring you together. And then for the next one, which is Shine, it's actually an expression and showcase of talents, and enjoy different events that children normally do in the conventional school, like grad, ball, family day. So we have that. Okay, HU also can provide that. And then for the equip one, the green box, it's really for parents to be trained along the way. So it's not just a one-time training, but it's a training in phases. So we will journey with you even with the training. Okay. So now what happens with the HG formula in times of quarantine? Okay, the next slide will tell you that this is how we will adapt with the new normal. This is how your family will experience the modified HG formula. So how are we going to do that? For the academic or for learn, we also we also open virtual meetings and enrichment classes online. Okay, and then you get to see advisors online via Zoom. So there will be some schedule that you get to see them at a certain time and day. Okay, and then for Connect, while we cannot really meet together physically, we do it virtually, and we do it via FAMS of HG. It's a exclusive Facebook group for HG enrolled families. Even for the events, for Shine, we do it virtually. Graduation is done virtually. We celebrated Buwan ng Wika. We did it virtually. So everything can be done now virtually. So there will be more to come until the end of the year. And for the equip, we believe that it's normally done live, all the training, but we believe and we want to support also parents with their new schedule, because they're also adapting to the new normal. Working parents who cannot really attend live sessions, even if it's virtual, we opened a self-paced training platform. So you can do the training at your own pace. All right. So we want to really support you, and we encourage you that you attend trainings to equip you. All right. Now, this is the part that I will help you to decide which program to choose before you join the breakout later and know more about the program. Okay, excuse me. Okay, let's look at the orange boxes. Okay, Touch, Tech AOP, and Tech BJU. When you see the orange boxes, these are the homeschooling programs. Okay, let's go to Touch first. Touch, simply, it's the Mendoza story. That's a good example of a Touch program. Did you see how it's customizable, how it's personalized? That's Touch program, okay? Because the customization happens when you manage the curriculum and also the approach in your teaching. And with touch, you will have a partner advisor hand-holding you, and the hand-holding is more relational, no? And not just the relational support, but also the academic support is being provided. All right. For tech, we tech, both AUP and BJU, um, there's only one curriculum that you can use. So there's not much choices, unlike touch, no? For tech, there's only one curriculum. It's either you go for AOP or Alpha Omega Publishing or BJU, Bob Jones University. Okay, and the support is in the navigation of the material. All right. Okay. As early as now, I also want to tell you that for touch, you can still use the online materials. Okay, if you really prefer using the online material. Later, we will tell you more about that. For Online Academy, that's the green box. That's what we call our hybrid program. It's a mix of homeschooling because you do it at home, but there's a semblance of conventional school. Okay. Again, it's only one curriculum using BJU, and the support is via a class advisor. And the class advisor will help you with the scheduling and the monitoring of the progress of your child. Okay. And then the purple boxes, these are the TLC or the learning curve programs. Okay. If you have identified some learning challenges, medical needs, giftedness of the child, this is the program for you. And the box at the bottom, which is the inclusions, no, included in all programs, you may refer to the link that will be posted in the chat space or the chat box. And then you click that because it will lead you to the info pack that will tell you more about the inclusions. We will not talk about this here, but we can talk about it later in the program because it is the same for all of the programs, the inclusions. Okay, so click it, write down all your questions, and we'll look at it later in the Q&A. All right, now for more information. Okay, let me help you further since this is the part that you will be narrowing down your choices. And I will highlight the different programs by defining, for this slide, you can take a screenshot. I will define materials and support. All right. For the materials, touch will give you a wide range of choices of books. You will be given a book list and then you can choose. It's like a menu. Included in the list are the usual books, printed books, and also included in the options are online materials like AOP and BJU. All right. For Tech AOP, it's fully online. The material is fully online, and it's they use Alpha Omega Publishing or Ignitia. All right. For Tech BJU and Online Academy, it's what we call blended online engagement using BJU or Bob Jones University Press material. The BJU DLO means distance learning online. Okay, so it's a combination of online and printed books. For TLC, it's the same as touch. Whatever books are available or materials available for touch, that will also be made available to TLC. For the support type at the bottom there. For touch, you will have a family advisor. Family advisors are homeschooling parents, no? Co-homeschooling parents. They are homeschool advocates. So we created this formula where we partner families with practitioners, no? Those who practice homeschooling. Why? This is the part that they can help you with the life schooling component, the practical things, no? How do I do it? So not much of the academic part, no? But sometimes, yes, you can also do that with them. Other than the family advisor, you'll also have a learning advisor. Learning advisors are educators, no? So they know the principles of education, and they will take care of the formal schooling component. Okay, formal schooling means ito na, more technical in nature. So that's the kind of support that you will get from touch. From tech, You will get support from your, we call them support advisors, na, for the navigation of your online curriculum. So you can, because if this is something new to you, there will be somebody in the back end who will help you go through the material. For online academy, you have a class advisor. The class advisor will not teach. Okay, the class advisor will help you prepare lessons, check on the progress of your child, and provide the grades of your children. And then a portion will be coming from you. Okay, for TLC, we have SPED specialists. Okay, they will partner with you for the set goals, no, for the developmental goals identified for your children. So this is also individually done. Okay. The next slide, which I also want you to take a screenshot for reference as you really want to finalize what you want to take as a program. I want to highlight here, let me see, parent-led, okay, or parental involvement, okay, because we believe that homeschooling is parent-led, no? That's why even in the different programs, walang zero parent intervention. It ranges from high, medium, low, but the parent is always there because we define parent involvement as being present, being resourceful. See your children learn and be there to witness breakthroughs in their education and also catch magic moments with your child, huh? Not just academics, but also about life. So for the parent involvement, it says here more handling for younger children because you still have to guide them in the way they will read and understand the lesson. But the older they get, the lesser hand holding because you will have to work yourself out with other children, the older children. This time you make them partners in their homeschooling. So it's more of a guide na. And then you will just have to agree on what to work on. And you will be there for as consultants to them. And then parent involvement would also mean grading your child. Grading is part of the involvement. Okay? So whatever program you're in, you will be involved in the grading, but it will depend now on the program. Okay? And the time needed, it says here, this is actually our recommendation and common practices of our families. But then again, you can also have your own measurement, no? Or what we call this, you can have your own benchmark in terms of the time of homeschooling that you will establish because it will greatly depend on your lifestyle, the family's lifestyle, the nature of the work of the parents, and the setup of the family. All right. So this grid is, again, based on common practices, and you can have your own as well. The highlight of the time needed is just, remember, it's preschool, just 2 hours. And play is included there, okay? Grade school, about 4. And then for high school, longer because of the content that they will have to take. All right, so this will just give you an idea. Okay, and here's the last slide. I hope you're able to narrow down your choices. But for the last slide, let me highlight on the assessment type. Okay, for touch, we have what we call portfolio review. So words that I can associate with it is project output based. It's a show and tell thing, okay? The approach here is more conversational. It's a conversational in terms of the assessment. It's in the context of conversation. Then we get to ask questions. Then they respond to that. That's how we engage with the student. Okay, the assessment is in the areas of communication, creativity, critical thinking, collaboration, and character. Basically, the 21st century skills. No, this is now how the child is. This is how the child will develop certain skills. No, we will determine the developmental areas. So that's portfolio review. And for tech, AOP, Tech, BJU, and Online Academy, the assessment is via test or exams. It's content-based since there is only one material to be used per program. The frequency, though, for Tech, it's monthly. Tech AUP is monthly. Tech BJU and Online Academy is done quarterly. Okay. For TLC, the kind of assessment is through workshops. Okay. The assessment is in the form of activities and personalized assessment based on developmental goals for TLC online. All right. So now you get to see a clearer picture. I hope you got a clearer picture of the different programs. Now, as we are getting ready for the breakout, I'll give you a few seconds of pause. Maybe you want to discuss. So where are we headed to? Which breakout are we going to choose? As you are doing that, let me ask you to do a little bit of multitasking. If you can just stay in a bit here with us because we value your feedback. Okay. We want to hear from you if this orientation has been helpful, or if there are things that you want to suggest. We want to hear from you by going back to the Slido that we used earlier in the poll. Still same event code. And if you can please answer the 3 questions there, just so we will know if this orientation is helpful and truly relevant, no, in finding out how families can discover homeschooling. Okay, you can also take a screenshot of this, and later, after the breakout session, you can also answer this survey. Okay, and then while you're at it, the breakout team also is preparing for your questions. So we have 3 groups or 3 breakout rooms. For Tech and Online Academy, you'll be staying here. Okay, no need to move. For those who would like to explore Touch, there's a link there that you can join. I will be there and join you in a bit. Just give me time to move. Okay, and then for the learning curve also, there's another link that you can choose. All right. So as we get ready for that, this is my chance to say thank you. Thank you, dear parents, for joining us. And it is my personal prayer that you will be guided in the decision that you will have to make for your child, for your family. Yeah. And also for us parents. Every decision would benefit every member of the family. All right. So thank you once again, and may you have a great time of Q&A. I hope you were able to list down all your questions. And for Touch program, for those who will go to Touch program, I'll join you in a bit. So as you move now, okay, let me just welcome also the team who will be handling Tech and Online Academy. You will be joined in by our program manager, Miss Shalom Remolio, and also your admission officer who will help you with all your questions. So as I say thank you and goodbye, I'd like to welcome Shalom and our admissions team. Thank you and hope to see you in the HG community. Bye.
everyone. Welcome to the HS Orientation Breakout Group for Online Academy and Tech Programs. So if you are interested in a program that is set and has mid to low parental involvement, this is the breakout session for you. Okay, so to help you choose between the tech programs and the online academy programs, first I'm going to share my screen, because the first thing that you do is actually to choose the curriculum. Before I start showing the different curriculums available in HG, there are only two here. Let me introduce myself. My name is Shalom J. Remolio, and I am the program manager for these two programs. All right, so let me just share my screen. Okay, so the first one that you can see here, sorry, let me just do this. Okay, so the first one that we see here is the BJU curriculum. So this is Bob Jones University curriculum powered by distance learning online. So I wanted to choose first between this one and the next one I'm going to show. Okay, so the Bob Jones University curriculum is a blended curriculum. So that means that you will have a physical copy of a book that's called a workbook, a work text, or activity manual, which is meant for answering. And then you'll be doing reading online through an ebook. So let me just give you an example by clicking one of the courses. What's really great about this is it's kind of like you're bringing the classroom home. So you have recordings of daily lessons with really interactive teachers. So you have the ebook here. So this is where you do the reading. You read the chapters here online. But when you have to answer something, you'll get a physical book. So you'll get like 2 books with this curriculum. So here, so you'll do all the reading and all of the chapters are here for the book. So it's the same for the other subjects. There are some subjects where it's just the work text that you get, and then there's no ebook because the lessons are already in the daily lessons here. Okay, so you jump in and you'll see parent instructions. Your child will only see this portion. It'll tell you to prepare these materials. And then the first thing that you do before you start every day is to open a video where you see the teacher teach. And normally what happens here is the teacher reads with you or goes through the material with you, and then they even have discussion questions. And when they do have a work text activity wherein your child has to answer, they can pause the button, answer it, and then the teacher will go over some of the material. So it's really great and interactive, highly recommended curriculum material. It's been with HG for such a long time with Victory Christian International School and adapted already by HG through the years. So it's very tried and tested. You also have tests here available for those who are in grades 5 to 12. For grades 1 to 4, the tests are taken, the chapter tests can be purchased online since it's a printed, it's another printed resource, but that's not a requirement. Don't worry, you have a Moodle exam that's also going to come with your bundle if you decide to get this. So this is how the work text looks like, and you have the answer key already available here. So you'll receive a physical book with all of these activities. And what's great is your child still gets to practice writing, and it's not just them reading something online. So that's what's great with the blended curriculum. Okay, so on to the next curriculum. So I told you there were two different curriculums. So the other one is the Alpha and Omega Press curriculum. So the first curriculum was BJU, powered by Distance Learning Online. This one is Alpha and Omega Press, powered by Ignitia. So this is generally what you would be able to see in a parent account. You'll see all of the child's work. So this is just a sample student, but you'll see the percentage they finish. And with Ignitia, you have to finish all of the curriculum 100%. And you can see here each unit. And the pacing is really based on your pacing. So if you want to take the test, you don't have to schedule the test with BJU, you have to schedule the tests. With Ignitia, all you have to do is unblock the test for your child when they're ready to take the test, and they can take this anytime. So let's take a look at how lessons look like for Ignitia. This is how lessons will look like. And then you usually have questions after that you have to answer. And what's great about Ignitia is it grades 85% of the work and the parent just grades 15%. So essentially, if you get this curriculum, all you have to do is really be able to accomplish all the courses. Let's click open another curriculum, another lesson. Let's see, math. So as you can see, as compared to BJU, the way Ignitia does it is they prefer to show lessons in chunks, kind of like, come on, if you're familiar with that. It focuses more on mastery. It focuses more on mastery, and then there are videos. But then these videos are quite short. It really just tells you the gist. And then if ever you would like more, you would have to check out other resources. So you see the video here is just 1 minute and 32. The videos in the BJU curriculum is 25 minutes to 30 minutes a day per subject. And you'll get to answer each number here. And sometimes there are games like this also to be able to check whether your child understood the lesson. Okay, so those are the two curriculums. So again, the first one that I was able to show is the Bob Jones University curriculum, powered by Distance Learning Online, which is a blended curriculum. And the second one I showed you was Ignitia. So it's powered by Ignitia. It's called the Alpha and Omega Press curriculum. And it's a fully online curriculum except for Araling Panlipunan and Filipino subjects, which will be delivered to you as an ebook and physical book. Okay, so if you have decided which curriculum you want to pick, you're already one step further in choosing which program you will decide on. So may I have the slide of the different programs on the screen? Okay, so we have the tech program. So if you like the Ignitia one, Alpha and Omega Press curriculum, the fully online curriculum, you will go for the Tech AOP program. And basically, that program is just like this. You have that curriculum for you as a set guide to go through the entire school year. And it makes it easier for parents to be able to navigate throughout the school year. Because with touch, it's fun because it's really customizable. You get to mix and match your curriculum. But with tech, it's more of like something that's ready to go already. When you enroll in a regular school, you don't mix and match the curriculum. You take the subjects that the school has set for the grade level as is, and you can't change that. So if you want a set curriculum already, Tech AOP has it, and you can go for the Tech AOP program. You'll also have a support advisor to help you with technical concerns via email and how to go through the program in case you encounter any problems. And we also have a general training at the beginning for all programs to make sure that we help you start and understand how you go through each quarter and finish. Next, if you like the second curriculum, the Bob Jones University curriculum, we have the Tech BJU curriculum, which is the blended curriculum. So Tech BJU is blended, and in the bundle, you'll be receiving work text. So that's a physical book where your child can answer their activities. And then they also have a student text, which is an ebook that's already built-in DLO, just like what I showed you earlier. Sure. So it's going to be like they have a book online and at the same time a physical book where they can answer their lessons and practice their handwriting for all grade levels. Okay, and then for Online Academy also uses the same as Tech BJU. Okay, but the difference is between Online Academy and Tech BJU is Online Academy was really designed for families who cannot fully support their child in the homeschooling journey. They really can't commit a lot of time to homeschooling. So that's where the class advisor support happens. So we lessen the responsibility of the parents, but take note, there is still responsibility. There's still a burden that is given to the parents. Okay, but the great thing is about having a class advisor is you can always book an appointment with them to meet like this one-on-one in case you have any problems in your homeschooling journey. So unlike with the other programs, basically you have a general training at the start, and then the next few weeks you're kind of on your own getting to understand the program, and you can email somebody in case you have questions. But with Online Academy, you start with that general training, and then you can reach out to your class advisor to book a one-on-one appointment with them in case you feel like you need help, you're overwhelmed, you may have fears regarding homeschooling, or you don't know what you're doing. So you can meet with someone one-on-one to just get you on track, and at the same time there's somebody that's monitoring your progress. So let's say in Tech BJU you were behind for that quarter, and you feel like, or in Tech AOP you were really behind. um, there's nobody to really tap you and say, hey, you're not yet done with the first quarter. With Online Academy, we have a monitoring system that we will send you on a weekly basis. So we'll send you weekly progress reports, and with those progress reports, you can use that as a basis to gauge whether you're on target or not. But take note that these are still very flexible targets, and you can customize it according to your own personal targets. If you have a certain deadline that you want to where you want your child to finish, like maybe you want your child to finish within 10 months instead of 12, then we'll help you prepare so that we will finish during that time. Okay, so um with Online Academy, you also have support in terms of grading. So we created a form for parents to be able to fill in grades more simply, but it's still going to be the parent who's filling out some of the grades. So that's the difference between the three programs. So more support for online academy, and then Tech AOP and Tech BJU is just different regarding the curriculums. But yeah, if you want something that's if you can commit more time, I suggest you go for Tech. If you cannot commit as much time as Tech, let's say you're both working parents, and you really just want to be there to facilitate majority of the time, then you can go to online academy. Okay, so let's I will hand you over to Ellie as she talks about the prices for online academy and Tech.
Hi, thank you so much, Shalom, for sharing more details about the differences between the online academy, the Tech BJU, and the Tech AOP program. So now I'll be discussing, by the way, again, my name is Miss Ellie. I'm from the admissions team. I'll be discussing more on the admission side of the program. So for the Tech AOP and Tech BJU, the program fee is per learner or per student. So that's 20,000 per student. And for the curriculum materials later on, I will be sharing with you on the screen the price estimates or the curriculum materials per grade level. All right. So again, for the Tech BJU and the Tech AOP program, the program fee for each learner is 20,000. And then for the online testing, so please know that the online testing, this is not an entrance exam. So the online testing will be done once the student is already enrolled. So this is only applicable for incoming grades 1 to 12. And this is a subscription, online subscription under MobiMax for math and language. That's 2,500 per learner. So that's per school year. All right. And then this is like a diagnostic of your child's learning for the specific subjects. And at the start of the school year, once they are enrolled, they will be taking on the pre-test so that you will know what level are they already at the start of the school year. And then at the end, they will be taking on the post-test for you to know their progress throughout the entire school year. So that's for the online testing fee. And then for the additional fees, this is only applicable if your child is enrolling under the US accreditation. So as Teacher Sel have mentioned earlier, we do have two accreditations. So one under DepEd or the Philippine accreditation with our partner school, which is VCIS or Victory Christian International School. And then we do also have a partner school in USA, which is WCFS or Wellspring Christian Family School. So if you opt to enroll under the US accreditation, there will be an additional fee as we will be the one to process all your documentation and the subject crediting system on for your child. All right, so that's for the US accreditation fee. This is mostly offered or recommended for families who have plans of continuing the studies of their children abroad. And then for the Philippine accreditation for kinder to grade 10, if you will be enrolling up under the DepEd accreditation, so there will be no additional accreditation fee. All right, only for those who are incoming grade 11 and 12. But please take note that if you wanted to enroll under the DepEd accreditation for Tech AOP, Tech BJU, and Online Academy for grades 11 and 12, this is only available under the Touch program. So for the Tech AOP, Tech BJU, and Online Academy, we only offer the grades 11 and 12 under the US accreditation. Okay, so I hope that was clear. Now let's move forward to the next slide for the online academy. So the program fee, that's 45,000 again per learner or per student. And then the curriculum materials, this one vary depending on the grade level. Okay, let's now move forward to the next slide. For the assessment type, I believe this has been discussed earlier as well. And then for the program fee, as mentioned, that's 20,000 for Tech AOP and Tech BJU and 45,000 for the online academy. Next slide, please. So Now you can take a screenshot on the details that you can see on the screen for the curriculum material price range depending on the grade level. So for the Tech AOP Tech BJ Online Academy, on top of the program fee and the online testing fee, the curriculum materials is also required upon enrollment. So since this is already a set curriculum on a set online curriculum bundle, and that's why it has to be settled, or it should be settled upon enrollment, because this is already the required materials that your child has to take. Okay, so now let's move forward to the next slide. So for the Tech BJU and Tech AOP program, so it could be paid in full, so that's 20,000 again per learner, and then this could be your reference for the breakdown of fees. So for these programs, we also offer, aside from the full payment, we offer a two payment scheme. So now let's move on to the next slide. For the two payment scheme, please take note that the two payment scheme with the 3% interest is only applicable on the program fee, not including the testing fee and the curriculum materials. So for the initial payment or the upfront payment, that's 15,000 for each child for the program fee, plus the testing fee and the curriculum material. So that's for the initial payment, if you will be availing for the two payment scheme. And then for the next payment, it could be settled by providing a post-dated check or through your credit card. So the second payment will be dated on the next month. So that's 5,600. Okay, now let's move on to the next. For the online academy, you could also pay it in full. That's 45,000 plus the online testing and the curriculum materials. And then we also offer on the next slide a two payment scheme for the online academy. That's with additional 3% interest. That would be a total of 23,175 for the program fee plus the testing fee and the curriculum materials. And then on the second payment, through post-dated check or credit card would be a total of 23,175 per learner. And also on the next slide, with Online Academy, we offer a 5 payment scheme option. So that's 9,720 for the upfront or initial payment, including the um, testing fee, the online testing fee of 2,500 and the curriculum materials. And then on the succeeding months, that would be a total of per month, that would be 9,720. Again, through post-dated check or through your credit card. All right, so that's for the fees. Now let's move forward. Again, this is for your reference. This could be your this is a sample computation specifically for grade 3. So please take note of the curriculum materials, as this one vary depending on the grade level. Okay, so that's 20,000 for Tech AOP and Tech BGU plus the online testing and the curriculum materials. And if the accreditation is will be applied. All right. So that's it for the fees. So now let's move forward to the admission requirements. So please take note that all of these details that I am discussing with you will also be sent to you by the admissions officer through email after attending this orientation. But now let me discuss this briefly. So given that we are that our office is still not open and we are all processing the enrollment online, we will still be needing the original copy or the hard copy for the birth certificate, that's PSA or NSO copy of your child, as well as their report card or Form 138, as this will be part of the student's permanent school record. So for now, you could submit to us through the online enrollment link, soft copy or scanned copy of these documents, but then you are required to submit the hard copy up until the end of this year. So that's December 2020. Okay, so we need those documents to validate your the incoming grade level of your child, and also to ensure that all the details or the information are correct. All right. And then for the LRN, this is a 12-digit number provided by DepEd. So if your child is previously enrolled in a DepEd accredited school, this is mostly found in the ID, school ID of your child or their report card. If it happens that it's not available on the said documents, you may directly ask their school or their teacher what's the LRN or learner's reference number of your child, as this will be needed once we enroll your child under DepEd. And then for the certified true copy of latest transcript of records, this could be submitted to follow if not yet available. And then for the ID photo, make sure that if you don't have a readily available 2x2 photo of your child, you can use your mobile phone and take a latest picture of your child. Make sure that it will be against a white background, and there will be no accessories uh, in the that will be hindering a clear picture of the face of your child. And please make sure that they will be wearing a formal top, okay, as this will be used in the ID that we will be providing. So to proceed with the enrollment, you also need to fill out the commitment to fulfill requirements form. It could be downloaded in the online enrollment link. This will be like your ticket or your pass to proceed with the enrollment, given that we will only be for the initial process of the enrollment, we'll only be needing the soft copies, but then we still require the hard copies. That's why we need your consent into fulfilling the requirements that we need. All right, I hope that was clear. So now let's move on to the next slide. All right, so what to expect after this orientation? I believe you were able to we were able to help you choose which program would be best for your child. So after joining this orientation, you now have time to decide on which program you will be enrolling your child if you already decided. And then for the step 3 on the next slide, you just have to fill out the enrollment application form. So that will be sent to you by the admissions officer that is assigned to you. So we'll be sending out an email after joining this orientation. And then once we were able to review the enrollment application of your child, and we have verified all the requirements that we will be needing, so we will be endorsing your application to our billing officers to settle the fees. So on the last step, once you're already paid and confirmed, once we are already confirmed with the payment and all is already been settled, so you will now be endorsed to the program that you have chosen to enroll your child, and then you will be expecting to receive the welcome email and the handbook and the next steps on how to start up your homeschooling journey. Okay, so on the next slide, please. So again, so we'll be sending you an email after joining this orientation for all the requirements and the enrollment details. And then you have time to prepare and choose your program. And then you just have to go onto the link that we'll be providing to proceed with the enrollment. All right. So feel free to chat in the chat box if you have any other questions.
Hi. If you guys have any questions, please feel free to chat it in our chat box. Okay, we have one here. If I choose Tech PJU, will it be possible if you ship the textbooks overseas? Yes. But you will be the one to shoulder the shipment fees. Do you have a program for children with special needs? Yes, that is the learning curve. So if you would like to go to a program for children with special needs, that's in the learning curve. Okay, so I'm still waiting for a few questions, But I think the best thing for you to ask right now, if you can choose between the Tech BJU and Tech AOP program and online academy program, is first to ask how much time can you commit for your child. So that's one of the important questions that you can ask yourself. If you can really commit more time to your child, you can check all of their work, and you can really spend time teaching them on a daily basis. I really highly recommend for you tech, because there's still some support if you do have some questions. It's just that the design of the program is really for parent teacher facilitators. For online academy, you still have parental involvement, so you're still going to fulfill certain grades quarterly. But the difference is the forms are different because there are some portions that are already filled up by the class advisors, and at the same time you have a monitoring system, so you don't need to really like monitor your child on a daily basis when they have to do their work. But so far, the parent teacher role is still with you, whether you're going for online academy or tech. It's just less time, and effort is spent on online academy, because you have that class advisor support. You have help in case you have questions. You have help in case you need um, more tips regarding navigation, regarding how to adjust the curriculum based on your lifestyle. You have that support with online academy. All right, so there are no more questions, but I just want to encourage you that homeschooling will be very difficult at the beginning. So that's usually the start for majority of our families. Is the beginning of homeschooling is challenging, but don't worry, because after the beginning and you get all of your answers to your questions, eventually it gets better, and then you find that rhythm, and then you find what works for you, what works for your lifestyle, and what's workable not just for you but for your child. So it's great because you can customize a lot of things that makes learning fun for them, and since you are the parent facilitator, you know your child best on what they need to take on a daily basis or on what they can skip in the curriculum. So I hope you don't feel overwhelmed with all of the information that you have. Homeschooling can be really fun and fruitful. So, thank you so much for attending our training. If there are no more questions, you are now dismissed. And we have a survey here. Please go to slide.do and write our event code Discover HS103. If you have any suggestions for us to add on, please do let us know. Okay, so while there are some parents who are answering this, I think we have one last question here. HG is accredited by DepEd. Would that mean in case we transfer our child to a traditional school, will her will she be accepted by the school? Yes. So we have a lot of families who move to Homeschool Global. Homeschool Global is not your school. So your school, when you are here with Homeschool Global, will either be one for DepEd accreditation. It's going to be Victory Christian International School. That is your accrediting school. So your report card will say from Victory Christian International School, or it will say Wellspring Christian Family School. So that's if you're going US accreditation. And if you use any of these two accreditations, you can move to another school here in the Philippines or even abroad. So um, uh, it is it HG has been here for years, and a lot of our students have moved in and out and even moved to college. So we have the experience regarding accreditation, and services for documentation, etc. Okay, thank you so much for attending our training, and we hope you have a great day. Please make sure you leave feedback for us. We just really want to know what you feel about our orientation and our Q&A session. Thank you so much. Have a great day.